Another Pink Lady Presents. Welcome everyone to a show filled with lives that are well lived now. And today, I cannot tell you how excited I am because I have a glamorous, beautiful lady sitting next to me, and Miss Cynthia Hardy. Welcome. Welcome. I have been wanting to get you here on our show for quite a while, and finally we made it. Cynthia, you are a singer, an actor, a dancer, a writer, a stage, film, and television celebrity. And where did it all begin?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I've been waiting for a long time to be here.
Thank you.
Well, it started when I was a kid with the dancing, actually, first.
And what city were you in at that time?
At the time in Chicago. I'm from Chicago, yes. Okay. And so I started acting in Chicago. And
how young were you when you first began?
Well, I started acting in high school.
Okay.
I started singing when I was about 5 or something in a church, and then I stopped and didn't sing anymore for about a number of years until junior high school.
Wow, okay.
And then high school I started, in the plays. In college I got into the musical theater world, and from there it's catapulted me here. So.
Now, when you were a young girl, your journey began because did you have a family that were in the musical business, or it just came naturally from somewhere, from God? I always tell people.
Nobody in my family. Okay. I don't know where it came from, and they would look at me like, well, where did she come from? Because for a while, when I was little, I wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, okay.
And so I kind of held on to that because I heard somebody in the background saying, you got to have that plan B.
Exactly.
And so at one point, I guess it was college, when I was majoring in nursing and minoring in theater.
Really? Well, that's an interesting subject.
Yes.
Okay.
And then it got to a point where the clinical part of the nursing, it was a lot of time, and then it was the part of the acting, but it was taking up a lot of time too. So I thought, okay, I have to make a decision.
Yes.
I made a decision, and
you never looked back.
Never looked back. And my first 2 TV roles were as nurses because they needed somebody with medical terminology experience.
Okay.
So I fulfilled my nursing duties.
I love it. So how difficult back in those days there to get auditions and find work?
I don't really look at it as difficult, I guess, because it was always instilled in me that I can do what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And so I really never looked at things as difficult. And sometimes I would do things and people would say, that was really hard. And I'm thinking, it really wasn't that hard, because I don't think of it as hard. I think about it as I have to do it.
You got to do it.
And so whatever steps I need to take to get there, that's kind of what I've done with it.
You're so dedicated and committed to it.
Yes.
Oh, anybody else in your family that were in the acting field or anything?
No, nobody. And I found out a distant cousin was a singer and a pianist, but that was it, and I really didn't know her.
When did you journey to California here? When was that?
I guess it was a little over 30 years now.
Okay.
Yes.
And why California and not New York? Because sometimes people from Chicago will go to New York first and then maybe come out to California.
But I didn't plan to come here. It was not my plan at all. And I had also toured to New York, so in my mind I thought, I'll go to New York, I'll go to California at some point. But when I was on the road and went to New York, I said, okay, California will be next. But at that time that I moved, I didn't plan to move here. I had finished a play in Chicago that had run for 2 years.
Wow, what was the name of that one?
It was called Rap Master Ronnie.
And what was that about?
It was a musical satire about Ronald Reagan.
Wow.
And it actually started here. The director is from here.
Okay.
And so when the show was over, he invited me to come and visit. So I came here for a vacation, and they got a job to go on the road, and they needed someone to house sit, and they were leaving the car, and they found somebody who had a job, and they said, we told her this is how much you'd make. And I thought, wait a minute, I have a place to live for 6 months, a job, and by the way, we're leaving the car. Hello. And I had met some wonderful people. So I thought, if I don't at least check it out, something is wrong with me.
Good girl.
So
Good girl.
From that point, here I am.
When you decided to leave nursing and go into musical theater, where did you study? To get where you are to this point, you had to study somewhere. You had to take classes or study under somebody. Who did you do that with?
Well, I studied at the university I went to was Loyola University in Chicago.
Okay.
And when I got out, I've studied with various people in Chicago. It was Dennis Zajac and a few others, and then I took improv classes here and there. And then when I got here, there were a few teachers, and even with Brian Rasmussen on-camera class. And so I've had quite a few teachers because my belief is I'll always be prepared. Because some teacher put that in my head, always be prepared.
Really?
So I always take classes. And
Good for you.
So I was like, so I can be prepared. You calling me now? Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, I can do that. Yes, the answer is yes, I can do it.
Because you've already had all the experience and everything. We'll be right back.
It's about the humans. These humans, those humans, groovin' and golden. It's about getting more than health insurance and a partner who listens and acts. Humana calls it human care. It's talking to a doctor from your couch or helping you find a cheaper prescription before you ask. It's helping you fix the rugs so you don't fall and keeping you social, online or off. It's getting to know you so you can be your healthiest. That's our superpower. That's human care from Humana.
We are back with the lovely Cynthia Hardy, who I call Miss Billie Holiday. It's so funny. A lot of people will do that when you take on a role sometime that is so meant for you to have taken that role, that instead of thinking of Cynthia Hardy, when someone asked me who we're having on, I said, oh, Billie Holiday. And they went, what?
Yes.
So when did you decide to play Billie Holiday, and why? I mean, that has to be a story that our audience would like to hear.
Well, it started when I was a kid. The older people in my family would listen to jazz and blues and the big bands, and like on the 4th of July, whatever, the first part of the day was with the kids and the kids' music. Right. And then afternoon came and we were shushed out of the way, and they would have the big bands on and all the jazz. And I was always listening. And also listening, to my mother and aunts, and they were talking about all these different singers. And some kind of way, Billie just kind of got stuck in my soul, and I didn't even realize it at the time.
Interesting.
And so then when I started writing, it was like something hit me. It's like, it's time to write a show. And I started with Billie Holiday. And so I started, doing the research, and I actually wrote it. It went in a different direction at the time, and then I stopped.
Okay.
Went into some other stuff, and some other theatrical things I was doing. When I came back to it, I did it for it was a senior home, and at that time it was the senior home.
Yeah,
so like, oh, yeah, I was just a kid, and they were having a party, and so we did it for the party. So that was I did it. Yes, the first draft, and then I went and did the rewrites.
You wrote the whole thing from the very beginning.
Yes. Yes.
And the reason why is because you felt what type of a kinship to her? I mean, she had a pretty tough life.
Yes, I don't have a particular thing. It was just something about her that touched my soul.
Okay.
And I just knew I had to tell her story. And the story that I have chosen to tell is not about all the drugs. We knew about that. We knew about the music, and I didn't want a show where I'm on the stage shooting up and nodding off and all of that stuff. Because we all have lives. If you or I became a druggie today, we've had wonderful lives or relationships with people. So I wanted to do that. I wanted to tell, the stories of why she wrote some of the songs, why she sang some of the songs, the relationships like with her mom and with her dad, you know,
Okay.
because we don't usually hear about that.
No,
you
you
hear
don't.
a snippet of maybe, you know, her mom working or doing this stuff, but that's about it. And you rarely hear about her dad.
Correct. Yeah, I never heard about him.
And most people would know who he is because he's Pop Holliday, and he played with Fletcher Henderson in this band. He was a guitarist.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so those are the kind of stories that I wanted to tell.
And what about her mother? What did her mother do?
Her mother was a domestic. You know, she cleaned houses for the
Right.
white people up in the day, and so then when you know they would move back and forth, and until Billie decided to help her. Because the mother would always cook for the bandmates and after the shows, and so they talked about it, and she opened up a restaurant.
Oh, really?
And so then
And
people.
where was this?
This was in New York,
Okay.
and so because they grew up in Baltimore, they started out in
Right.
Baltimore, and so she had this restaurant, and all the famous people and the bands and all of that would come to the restaurant, and so that's what she ended up doing before she passed away.
And then the dad continued as a guitarist, you said? Or?
Yeah, he played with Fletcher Henderson until he died.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then when you decided on Billie Holiday, where did you find some of your material, Cynthia?
I was reading things, I was looking up things, and it's funny because I would actually talk to people because I've always been like a sponge. As I always tell people, I'm still a student. And so when for instance, we did this show, it was a documentary of the nightclubs in the Chicago area during the 40s and the 50s.
Oh, wow, that must have been interesting.
Oh, it was a lot of
Did
fun.
you write that?
No, I was just one of the members in the cast.
Okay, okay.
But the band members were older guys, and they had been around forever, and so they would sit and have these wonderful conversations, and I would sit and listen. And so it was just the stories that they had, you know, from different singers, including Billie Holiday, because some of them were
Right.
old enough to have
Right.
been around, you know, with her. And so I would just take snippets of what they said and, you know, add it to all the other research that I was doing. And as I've been doing the show, people will come up to me after the show and tell me these wonderful stories about her.
Okay.
And
So you gathered more documents?
yes, or it just made my character deeper.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, so after 12 years, it's like, how can it still be fresh? Well, because I'm still getting information.
Okay.
You know, and it's like, okay, so
what age did you start your writing of her? Meaning, what age is Billie Holiday when she's on stage now with you?
42.
Okay.
So
okay,
it's about 2 years before she passes.
Wow, wow. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that went on before that gave her who she was at that moment.
Right.
Wow.
And at the moment I do the show, she's clean.
Interesting. Okay.
And she drinks, but she's still clean from the drugs.
It sounds like we're going to enjoy meeting Billie Holiday at this stage. You also work with Della Reese on
Yes.
a film called, was it Home?
No, actually, I worked with her in her church. She was a minister.
Right, right.
And
we've been
so
there.
I ended up joining the church, and I sang in a choir, in her choir. And then there were times she would do special events, and sometimes she would take the whole choir, sometimes she would take part of us, and we would, you know, perform back up with her.
I love it. I think she was fabulous.
She was absolutely fabulous. I mean, a lot of people didn't know that she was a minister, but
No, did not know that.
yeah,
right.
but she,
wow.
because she founded her church and she had it until she passed away, and people would come in and just the lessons that she would give were very, very good for the soul.
We met her when she was ill at that time at her
Okay.
church with Ben Vereen. It was a birthday
Yes,
celebration.
yes, I was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's where I first saw you.
Yeah, we
if I'm
were
not
singing in the
mistaken.
choir then, right?
You got an award, the NAACP award for Billie Backstage with Lady Day.
Yes.
Best one-person show. Wow,
Yes.
that had to make you feel fabulous.
It made me feel incredible because I wasn't expecting it. And I didn't even know that the committee had been to see the show.
Wow.
And so the next thing I know, I got this letter saying we're going to have an event to announce the nominees.
Wow.
I was like, announce the nominees? So they had this big thing at this big theater to announce the nominees, and I was announced. And that was just wonderful. And then when we got the award, it like I said, I wasn't expecting it because I didn't even think about it. I was just doing the show. But to
that's
have,
the best way.
yeah,
right?
and it's just been one of the highlights.
Well, also you won the award for Artistic Director Achievement Award
Yes,
for the same show as the Best Actress. Wow, that had to be something special.
yes, and like I said, Billie has taken me a long way. She's gotten me some awards. She's actually gotten me through the show during health issues.
Really?
Yes,
Okay, good.
so there are times I say, I think Billie saved my life a couple of times.
There you go. You are also a teacher.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I don't even know when I haven't been teaching.
Love that.
But I mean, because in Chicago, I started teaching, the kids, and since then I've taught everything from the kids to adults,
Right.
college. Taught at senior apartment complexes, senior homes, and as well as Camarillo for mentally challenged kids and
Really?
adults when it was still open. So I've taught
wow.
theater workshops to all these different people. So it's been just a blessing to be able to share my talent with all these different groups.
I tell you, Cynthia, I think Billie Holiday was meant to be with you. Because from what I'm gathering, her life for you gave you the initiative to say, you know what, I'm going to tell the world about her. And all your journey with that. I think I'm excited. I think our audience is going to be excited now to see, Miss Billie Holiday here. Any new projects on your horizon before we get into that?
Right now I'm just working on some things with Billie that had started before the pandemic. People, now I'm back in touch with them
Yes.
to travel with it. And, just back to the regular, as they call it, the regular old grind, auditioning, for the movies and TVs and
Right.
commercials and stuff. So I'm back to doing that.
Well, we're excited because, ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, Billie Holiday, and now you're going to know Billie Holiday through Cynthia Hardy's Heart and Eyes, and I think it's going to give us a whole new perspective of who she was, and definitely of your talent and who you are.
So my name is Billie Holiday, Lady Day, but you already knew that. I was born Eleanora Fagan in 1915. See, Fagan was my great-grandfather's name. He was Irish. My great-grandmother was a slave, his slave. So that makes me a black Irish. Now, Mom and Pop had me when they were young. Mom was 13, Pop was 15. They got married 3 years after I was born. We didn't have much. We lived in Baltimore where Mom cleaned houses for white folks. And Pop ran all kind of errands and did odd jobs to bring in some money. Well, that is until he got drafted into the Army. Now, I was such a tomboy that Pop started calling me Bill. Bill. But you see, I felt that I was too girly and too pretty to have a boy's name. So I changed it to Billie after my first favorite movie star, Billy Dove. There ain't nothing I can do, nothing I can say that folks don't criticize me. But I'm gonna do just as I want to anyway, and don't care if they all despise me. If I should take a notion to jump into the ocean, ain't nobody's business if I do. If If I go to church on Sunday, then cabaret all day Monday, it ain't nobody's business if I do. If my man ain't got no money, and I say, here, take all mine, honey, ain't nobody's business if I do. If I give him my last nickel and it leaves me in a pickle, it ain't nobody's business if I do. I'd rather my man would hit me than for him to jump up and quit me, and it ain't nobody's business if I do. I swear I won't call no copper if I'm beat up by my papa, and it ain't nobody's business if I do. Nobody's business. Nobody's business. Nobody's business if I do. Yeah, child. Thank you. Now, Pop was drafted and sent off overseas. Pop, you may know him, Pop Holliday. We all call him Clarence Holliday. Well, he was drafted and sent overseas, and while he was overseas, he got hit with some kind of poisonous gas. But you see, Pop always wanted to be a musician. He wanted to be a trumpet player. But when he got hit with that poisonous gas overseas, it messed up his lungs. And you know, you got to have some good lungs to play a horn. But that didn't stop Pop. Pop picked up the guitar. And that's what he became famous for, playing the guitar. He ended up joining up with the Fletcher Henderson band. And they started calling him Lib Lab because he could ad-lib so good. Well, they started going out on the road a lot. And the more they went out on the road, the more our family just fell apart. Pop started coming home less and less. After a while, Pop and Mom got a divorce. But in Mom's heart, he was still her man. Even when he got remarried like a few years later, he was still her man in her heart. Pop developed some kind of pneumonia, probably from all that poisonous gas in his lungs. And I found out that he had gone to hospital after hospital in Dallas, Texas, but nobody would let him in just because he was a Negro. So they finally found a veterans hospital and they put him in the Jim Crow ward. But by then it was too late. Pop died. You see, Pop died just because he was a Negro in a racist town. They might as well have lynched him because that's what they were doing to the Negroes, hanging them from trees like some kind of animals. Stupid white folks would just bring their kids out to see the lynchings like they were going to a concert or a picnic. I mean, they would bring their kids to see Negroes get tarred and feathered and hung by the neck. Now that was something, wasn't it? And shortly after that, I was introduced to this white man by the name of Lewis Allen. And he had written this poem and he wanted me to turn it into a song, but I didn't want to do it. So I read it again. And I said, yeah, because not only did it describe what was happening to the Negroes in the South, the lynchings, being lynched just because you were a Negro, but it reminded me of the racism that killed Pop. I knew I had to do it. I had to do it. Southern trees bear strange fruit, blood at the leaves and blood at the root, black bodies swinging in the southern breeze, strange fruit hanging from the possible trees. Pastoral scenes of the gallant South, the bulging eyes and the twisted mouth, scent of magnolia, sweet and fresh, then the sudden smell of burning flesh. Here is a fruit for the crows to pluck, for the rain to gather, for the wind to suck, for the sun to rot, for the tree to drop. Here is a strange and bitter cry.
Wow. I mean, hello everybody. You just saw Miss Billie Holiday. In reality, Cynthia Hardy, you are absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you.
You really captured someone whose life was not only a hard one, but a fabulous one.
Thank you, yes.
It's like juxtaposition. And you can all catch Cynthia Hardy as Billie Holiday at the White Fire Theater here in Sherman Oaks.
Yes.
And we'll have that date, and just call the theater, and they'll give you the date and everything.
Yes.
And I am so excited for you. May you have many, many more years doing Billie Holiday and whatever else you're going to write.
Well,
so
thank
you
you
for being our guest
Thank
today.
you.
And everyone, check White Fire Theater for Billie Holiday's engagement there. God bless, stay safe, and be well, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
I love you, sweet thing. Thank you.
In my solitude, you taught me with reveries of days gone by.